I was supposed to be dead by now. That's what the Federation told me. They said the moment I got close enough to see the whites of his forward-facing eyes, he would strike. But right now, his large, terrifyingly strong hand isn't crushing my throat. It's gently brushing the soft wool behind my ear. His breath smells like roasted coffee and ozone, not blood. And my heart, it isn't pounding in terror anymore. It's racing for an entirely different reason. Truth is, volunteering for the exchange program was a death sentence, a political suicide mission. I am Venlil. We are prey. Our eyes sit wide on the sides of our heads, designed to catch the shadow of a hunter before it snaps our necks. Humanity? They are the monsters hiding in the dark. Binocular vision, sharp teeth, a predatory species that somehow clawed its way into the stars. When they paired me with Marcel, a human soldier, my superiors practically wrote my eulogy. They dropped me into the icy, sterile halls of the diplomatic station and waited for the screaming to start. I remember that first day in our shared quarters. The hum of the atmospheric scrubbers felt suffocatingly loud. My paws were shaking so hard my claws clicked against the floor grating. I backed myself into the furthest corner, curling my woolly tail around my legs, waiting for the beast to enter. Then the heavy bulkhead door slid open. He was massive, a towering silhouette of thick muscle and dark fabric. My instincts screamed at me to run, to bolt. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for teeth, but nothing happened. "Hey!" a voice rumbled. It was deep, vibrating right through the floorboards and into my bones. But it was soft, careful. "You don't have to look at me. I know I'm scary. I'll just sit right here by the door." I cracked one eye open. Marcel hadn't lunged. He had actually lowered himself down, sitting cross-legged on the cold deck plates, deliberately trying to make his large frame smaller. He kept his gaze fixed firmly on his own boots. He was hiding those terrifying forward-facing eyes from me. It took 3 excruciating hours before I finally uncurled. 3 hours of him just sitting there, radiating body heat into the freezing room. Ironically, the first thing I noticed wasn't a predator's tension. It was a heavy exhaustion etched into the lines around his mouth. I took a hesitant step forward. A tiny electric spark of static cracked as my wool brushed the edge of the metal partition. He didn't flinch. He just held his bare hand out, palm up, completely still. "I'm Marcel," he whispered. I crept closer, fighting millions of years of deeply ingrained prey instinct. He smelled strange, like old sweat, metallic rationing tins, and something warm and earthy that I couldn't name. When my trembling paw finally hovered over his hand, I stared at the scars on his knuckles. Rough, calloused skin. Skin that could crush me in an instant. I swallowed hard, and I placed my paw in his hand. His fingers didn't snap shut like a trap. They just curled, barely holding me, like I was made of fragile glass. A ragged breath hitched in his chest, and he finally looked up. His eyes met mine. Green, deep, piercing green. The gaze of an apex predator. But then again, I didn't see hunger in them. I saw overwhelming, desperate loneliness. Right then, the political games didn't matter. The Federation's lies shattered. This terrifying human was gently running his thumb across my knuckles, and I caught myself leaning into his warmth. The sirens hit us 3 weeks later, an ear-splitting shriek that tore through the quiet sanctuary of our quarters. The Arcsur had found the station. True predators, the monsters the Federation warned us about. Panic, cold and sharp, spiked in my chest. My prey instinct screamed at me to freeze, to hide in the ventilation shafts and pray for a quick death. But Marcel, he didn't freeze. He moved with a terrifying, calculated grace. He slammed his heavy, tactical vest over his chest, his jaw set like stone. He didn't look like the gentle giant who spent quiet evenings learning how to braid the long wool on the back of my neck. He looked like a god of war. And yet, before he racked the slide of his kinetic rifle, he stopped. He knelt in front of me, his massive hands gripping my trembling shoulders. "Look at me," he commanded. His voice was a low, steady rumble, cutting straight through the chaos. "I am not going to let them touch you. Do you understand?" I couldn't speak. I just gave a tiny, terrified nod. Then, the bulkhead door blew inward. Smoke and the bitter taste of scorched metal filled the air. Two Arcsers stepped through the wreckage, massive, gray-scaled reptiles with jaws dripping with anticipation. They locked their slit eyes on me. Easy prey, but they had to go through the human first. What happened next wasn't a tactical maneuver. It was raw, unbridled fury. Marcel didn't just fight, he became a shield of flesh and bone. The deafening crack of his rifle, the sickening crunch of bone as an Arcsur lunged, slicing its brutal claws across Marcel's side. He grunted, a harsh, wet sound, but he didn't fall. He stepped into the strike, driving his combat knife upward. The first Arcsur collapsed. The second one fled, its morale completely broken by the sheer, stubborn refusal of the human to die. Silence crashed back into the room, heavy and suffocating. Marcel dropped his rifle. He swayed, his hand clutching his ribs. Dark crimson blood, so shockingly bright compared to my own, seeped through his fingers. "Marcel!" I gasped, my voice cracking. I didn't care about the smoke. I didn't care about the Federation's stupid rules or my own biology. I ran to him. As his knees buckled, I caught him, my small frame struggling under his immense weight as we sank to the cold deck plates. "Hey," he rasped, his chest heaving. A tired, lopsided smile broke through his grimace of pain. "Told you, I'd keep you safe." My paws were stained with his blood. It smelled like iron and salt. Tears, something humans do, something I had finally learned to understand, pricked at the corners of my eyes. "You're an idiot," I whispered. I pressed a makeshift bandage of torn fabric against his wound. My paws were shaking, but not from fear of him. Never him. He reached up, his rough, calloused fingers gently brushing a tear from my cheek. The electric spark of his touch sent a jolt straight to my core. "Maybe," he breathed, his green eyes locking onto mine, the terrifying gaze of an apex predator. But all I saw was the man I loved. "But you're worth it." The Federation thought they were pairing a monster with a victim. They thought we were a political stunt. Sure, but sitting there in the wreckage, with his blood on my paws and his heartbeat thumping a steady rhythm against my chest, I knew the truth. They hadn't sent me to my death. They had given me my soulmate. The war outside would rage on. The galaxy would burn. But right here, wrapped in the arms of a human, I was finally home.